Hello and welcome. It's Time of the Sixth Sun. My name is Theo Van Dor. I'm the executive producer of the movie. In the window below, you've got the lovely Nikki Luna Williams, who is the creator of this beautiful project, the writer, the director, the producer of this incredible movie. And to my side here, we have our guest for this evening. It's Yakov Darling Khan. Let me just mute something that's coming out at the same time. Sorry about that. Nikki Luna Williams, who is the creator of this. It's coming out in multiple places.
I'll just take a second bow.
Sorry about that.
Good.
It's because I've got the YouTube channel up and the Facebook channel up, and I forget to mute them, and then so I start playing out in real time. There we go. I've just killed them. I'll open them up again in a second. It's so lovely to have you with us, Yakov. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
If it's all right, what I'd like to start with is we've been doing. This is our 8th Facebook Live, YouTube Live broadcast that we've done, and I realised it would be really nice to actually ask people how they can support. So what I'd like to do is, first of all, show how you can support Yakov for sharing the information he's going to share with you this evening. So there's 2 websites that Yakov will talk about later. So it's darlingkhan.com, 21gratitudes.com, and then you can follow him on Instagram and Facebook. And all of these links are actually in the description of this live broadcast that we're doing with you this evening. And also, this is Yakov's new book, Shaman, Invoking Power, Presence and Purpose at the core of who you are. And if you go to his website, you can order it from there. And I'm sure Yakov's going to share some of the details about that. And also, if you'd like to support us, we'd absolutely love it. So how can you support these free live broadcasts? Well, if you've not seen the movie yet, why not? It's just $4.95 at timeofthesixthsunmovie.com. If you would like to go into over 19 hours of deep dive content, Luna filmed over 1,000 hours interviewing all these incredible experts, and we've taken all of that and put it together in an 8-part docuseries. There's so much information in that digital access package, and it's just $67 at the moment instead of $97 usually. Or you can make a donation. Again, the link is in the comments, and if you click the donation button, it'll take you to a page where we actually explain where those funds are going to go and why we're asking for donations. And if you can't do any of those, you could share this live video with others so other people find out about the work that we're doing. So thank you so much for taking that on board, and let's go. Luna, you want to open it with Yakov?
Yeah, absolutely. So gosh, I don't even know how many years it is, Yakov. I think it was probably about 6 years ago I came down and saw you. Anyway, welcome.
Thank you so much. We've reached that age, haven't we, where we start wanting to know, not to know anymore how many years it's been.
and it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So where to start? So many questions for you, Yakov. One of your messages is to shift from acquisition to reciprocity as a way of restoring our connection to each other. And so, in other words, everything has to be a win-win situation, and that's how Theo and I always try to work. So can you, for our audience, try and give me an example of that, of reciprocity?
Absolutely. I've been really blessed to work with some really wonderful, very humble Indigenous people and teachers around the world. And the one thing that I've heard from all of them around the world, which I've come to see as a really basic universal law of nature and of shamanic practice, is this thing called reciprocity. It means what we receive, we give back. And what we give back, we receive. And if those channels are open, then life is more in balance. And if we're doing in a way what the industrial world has trained us very well to do, to acquire, to keep on taking, to always feel hungry inside, and to feed those hungry ghosts, we end up taking much more than we give. And, even interestingly, like a project like yours, I know how much work and love and passion that you poured into the Time of the Sixth Sun. And I know it's been years of your life that you've given to this. And I know how easy it is for people to just kind of consume it and not give back. So I really, tonight, right here and now, there's a beautiful opportunity for reciprocity if you're watching, to support the Time of the Sixth Sun project, to give back. It actually helps us to receive more deeply.
Yeah, and we are in the age of collaboration. I think people don't realize how much it costs to run all this high tech. And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. Beautiful. So in our film, Tobias, who's our guide and storyteller, he talks about the fruit of the rose, that which we've put in place long before we came to Earth in order to awaken ourselves at a certain time. And I guess your fruit of the rose was when you had an incident being hit by lightning. Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, it sounds very dramatic. I mean, it was dramatic, but I wasn't doing anything shamanic. I was just playing golf, actually. I was on a golf course with a mate and not being very intelligent. A huge storm came over, like really whirling clouds. And we stood under an umbrella, a golf umbrella, metal tipped golf umbrella, not very intelligent. And this guy, the guy I was playing with, was holding onto, we were like under the umbrella together. So we were in touch. And at one moment, he got thrown off me. And I had this experience literally of being like a tent peg, just one big blow into the ground, like fully into the ground. And I wasn't hurt in any way. I wasn't injured in any way. I just, in that moment, I was like, you know, am I dead? Have I died? And the moment I realized, no, I haven't died. I'm here. I'm alive. It was just like, Yakov, get on with it, mate. You've got work to do. Get on with it. Stop running around distracting yourself. Get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did it give you any gifts from that experience? Did it heighten anything for you, or?
Well, very much so. I mean, I started to remember almost immediately. I started to remember the things from my childhood, which I'd put to one side. I'm not just talking about wounds, but including the difficult stuff, like really the challenging stuff of childhood, of incarnation, but also the things that within my family there was no context to talk about. Like, I used to speak to my great grandmother after she died. I just used to see her on the top of the stairs, and as a child, that was just how it was. There was no thought about anything being different or other or strange. But as I came into my adolescence, that, you know, pretty quickly I got the recognition that that kind of stuff was not very cool. It was kind of weird. So I pushed it to one side. And that lightning strike, that's what I understood. It was like, you have to start to learn how to work with what you're here to bring, which is medicine. Medicine, I don't mean plant medicine. I mean medicine, the kind of spaces where people remember who they are, what they are, and what they're connected to. And yeah, it's been a wild ride, not easy. I mean, anyone who's taken that ride to awakening knows it really is difficult at times. It's magnificent at others. And there's a lot of kind of in between times, a lot of self-doubt, a lot of concern about, you know, am I going crazy? You know, my rational mind is like trying to reassert its hold on my reality. And, you know, I've had to learn to live in the two worlds, the one I was brought up in and the one that I'm part of, that I belong to, which is that bridge of nature and spirit that's the shaman's realm.
Yeah. And something that most of us struggle with at some time or other. We come to that point for sure.
Yeah. My God. Yeah. Oh, there goes the blanket. So
when did your apprenticeship start? would you say? And it was influenced by your spiritual teachers. I know the Sami, because we talked about them a lot, the Sami people of the European North Arctic, and then later with the Jaguar and the Sapara people of the Amazon. So, yeah, just tell us a little bit about that, and whether there was a crossover in the teachings of North and South.
Well, it's very interesting because, you know, in a way, the person who was in the middle of that was in our world was, of course, Gabrielle Roth, who was called at the time an urban shaman. And she lived in New York, and I apprenticed and worked with her for 18 years. And she was very much of the city, of the culture. Shamanism is rock and roll. Shamanism is sweat. Shamanism is getting in your body and giving it to the beat. And she was a mistress of that bringing spirit and body back into one place. That was her gift, and I worked with her a long time. And then these two that you mentioned, I was dreaming about a man who I used to call the old man of the North, and I used to speak to him whenever I was going to teach. I just see him and I'd talk to him, and I just assumed for a very long time he was an internal archetype or a helper I didn't really think that much about it, except for he was very helpful. And long story, but the short version is I ended up meeting this guy after 12 years, and he knew about me, and you know, his reality was that it had taken me a very long time to accept his invitation. But he didn't invite me to study the medicine of the Sami people. He was very clear that we could drum together. He could share the stories of his people. But he wasn't inviting me to take that and own it. He was inviting me to use what he was offering me to remember our medicine, the medicine that on my land and our people have lost, and the medicine of the body, and to translate that. And then the other road, if you like, or the other river that came into my indigenous learnings was from the Amazon. And I only went there because I had a dream about it. You know, dreams have been very important in my life, particular kinds of dreams, which I've learned to listen to and follow. And I had a dream of invitation into the forest, long time before I knew anything about what goes on in the forest. And to be honest with you, if I had known what was going to be going on in the forest, I would never have gone, because it was at times terrifying and hellish, and very deeply confronting of me, of my patterns, my ego stories, my structures, my wish for power, to be the best, you know, all of that stuff got pulled up right in front of me in a way that I didn't really want to look at, but gave me no choice. And that place and that work and that apprenticeship took me to pieces in a way that I needed to be, and gave me a new ground to stand on. And it was during that time that Susanna, my wife, and we discovered really that it was time to leave the nest of 18 years of apprenticeship with Gabrielle and step into the medicine that had been being developed inside us through all these different practices, and not all shamanic, you know, systems theory and family constellations, and just a little bit of neuroscience, the understanding of how change happens, a lot of, and Susanna was trained in psychotherapy, so very important pieces in the puzzle. And, you know, for me, contemporary shamanism, it has to hold these pieces that I've been discussing. Number one, reciprocity. Number two, the body. For us in the indigenous world, in the industrial world, to find our indigenous self again, we have to reclaim this territory, to reclaim it, to take it back from where it belongs to our history and our stories. Literally, it's been colonized by our past, and we need to re-own it, to take it back. That is our shamanic healing.
Yeah. You've been working, Teo, with Peruvian guides. You've been doing a shamanic practice for the last year. Have you had that same experience?
Yeah, I mean, the essence of all of it is it's going inside, you know, of all these different teachings. I mean, really, I think we spend our life as human beings and human doings just looking externally for all these different things. But it just seems to me that the more learning I get and the more I look into these subjects, it's all about the inner work. And once you can get control of the inner work, the outer world actually becomes a lot easier to handle.
Absolutely, definitely will.
Yeah,
it's what we're seeing with all our speakers that we've been re-interviewing is all about the inner work right now. We'll come to that a little bit later. But so with the Sami, when I visited your home several years ago, Yakov, you brought out the sweetest little drum, the Sami drum that you had been gifted, or you had made. I'm not sure which.
No, Mattis, the Sami shaman, made it for me.
Right. And you just tenderly stroked her and whispered. And it was, I just never seen that relationship with a drum. And it really taught me how to be with my drum too. So, yeah, what does your drum represent for you? And does she speak to you? Does she guide you? I call it a she. She feels like a she to me.
I don't think I've never actually considered whether she's a she. I'll ask her there. Thank you. Yeah. Or a he, but let's ask. I brought this along. This is actually not the drum that you saw. No. But this Mattis, his name was Mattis Penta. He died 2.5 years ago. He was a very humble, simple man. Like, no big drama at all, just lived in a little house by a river, was a hunter, was a craftsman in the tradition of his people, and quietly practiced his art, his shamanic art, by himself for more than 30 years, because where he was living, the local people, there may still be 6 fundamentalist churches in the town where he lived. And the only thing that they all agreed on was that shamanism was the devil's work. Wow. And, you know, for the Sami people, the drum had been taken away from them. Until relatively recently, you could have the death penalty for owning or playing or making a drum. And
was that for men and women? Because I know the women had their drums burnt. But men also in the
absolutely
song?
It was the drum, full stop. And Mattis, when he was a young man, his father and his grandfather and his great grandfather, he came from that male lineage of shamanism. There are certainly others within the women have power in that way, very much so, in those traditions. But when he was a young man, he received a dream that he was playing a drum, and he was frightened by it because he'd been brought up Christian, but his father had these traditions, and so he decided he would go to an amazing story. He decided he would go to the museum in a place called Karashok, where he knew there was the remains of an old drum that had been found, and it was in a glass case, and he went to stand in front of that drum and he prayed to Jesus. Like, Jesus is not particularly my thing, but he'd grown up in that tradition, and it was part of his thing. And he said, you know, Jesus, I've been told this drum thing is really bad and it's evil and it's wrong. And is it? And he told me he was looking at the skin of a drum. It looks like this kind of skin, but it was black, the skin, because it was so old. And he saw 3 stars coming from the skin of the drum. He watched these 3 stars, and he interpreted that as in 2 ways. He interpreted it as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost from his Jesus tradition. And he interpreted it as the 3 worlds that he knew were part of the Sami shamanic tradition.
Yeah.
And then he went, this is crazy, he went to his craft teacher in the school where he was learning to do the traditional Sami craft. He said, can I have the key, because I've been instructed. Oh, that's right. No, he said he went home and he dreamt that night. And that night, Jesus came to him in the dream, playing a drum and singing and dancing. And he was like, okay, well, fair enough. It's got to be okay. So he asked his teacher, can I use the studio to make a drum? And the teacher said, no, you can't. It's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. But you should know that at the weekend, I'm never here. And I always keep the drum under that rock over there. So, that's the key, rather, under that rock over there. And he took the key and he made his first drum. And he played it for 30 years by himself and remembered the tradition of drumming. So when he gave me, he said he was going to make a drum for me. I was really overwhelmed. And he made me a drum. And at a certain point, about 4 years ago, he asked me if I could give it back to him. And because he wanted to give me his drum. This is his drum. And he put a new skin on it. And you'll see that the symbols on the skin are not Sami symbols. They are actually, they are the symbols of our work of movement medicine. And this was really important to him, that I wouldn't use the Sami symbol. I don't know what they mean. It's not my tradition.
No.
And he didn't teach me. But when I play this drum, and when I touch this drum, I really feel this man's spirit. He was called White Eagle. And I don't know if you remember when that white buffalo calf was born. It's from about 25 years ago or something.
Yeah.
He was invited to represent the Sami people at the ceremony in North America with the people who were really in that tradition, the Native American people. So may I just play a little?
Be honest.
I just feel to remember him. He was representative of the indigenous peoples of the world whose traditions have been, as you know, anything but respected. And he had to do a lot of healing, as we all do, with our connection to the shamanic traditions, the traditions that remember the earth and the body as connected, that remember the sun and the light inside our trillions of cells as the same light, that remember the body as water, and remember how important the breath is to our life and the purity of the air. This is embodied, engaged shamanic practice. And the indigenous people that I know and work with, their shamanic practice is so practical and down to earth. If you have a vision, if you receive a vision, you take that vision and you work with it until it exists in this world. And you don't go back looking for another vision, not like us vision junkies. You don't go back looking for another vision until that vision has been brought to earth. I want to remember that simplicity, and I want to call for the help of our indigenous families and friends to help us to remember our own ancestry, our own connection, because we need help right now. We need help. We're at this powerful gateway as a species. And if we are lucky enough to have the time and the space and the health to think about that, to be with that, then I hear those indigenous people, our friends in the forest, the Jaguar and the Zapara, who just dedicated their whole existence to protecting that forest, not just for them, but for us. This is shamanism. It's not just having a vision. It's living in that vision and working towards it every day. Simple little steps every day. So with this rhythm, I feel that spirit, and if you so wish, invite that spirit of your own indigenous self, that part of you that is the land. Even if you're at the top of a high-rise block of flats right now, that part of you is the land. That part of you knows itself as spirit, knows itself as a dreamer. We need to dream. We need to pray, to dream, to call in a vision of what might be possible, how we might dignify the suffering of those who are suffering by learning from it, not just our human friends, all those species that have been going out of existence, becoming extinct, learning so that we dignify their existence as a species, learning that we can turn this around. We can. And if you're here and you have a beating heart and you care for life and you care for what matters really to you, what matters to you, there is help. I forget. I really do. I forget to ask. And one thing my teachers have all taught me is help cannot be given until I humble myself enough to remember to ask. I miss that man, I have to tell you. I really miss him.
I can hear it in your drumming. Gosh, that is one powerful little drum. Just takes you straight down the rabbit hole. And it's very interesting when it's like 135 beats per minute, so it obviously draws you in, but it gives such more clarity to what you're saying. It's very interesting, isn't it?
That's what it's for. It's like Mattis taught me about the drum, that it's really your telephone and your amplifier, like how you call and how you receive and amplify spirit. And you know, I like any of us probably who started drumming, I had a drum and I just used to beat the drum and make sound. He was like, no you don't. No you don't. You have to learn to listen. You have to learn to listen to and watch and feel and sense the effect that you're having, and receive it and be aware of it. It's powerful.
Hugely powerful. So dance, ritual and prayer, they're your soul's language for you, aren't they? Yeah. And this, I guess, resulted in founding the medicine dance along with Susanna, your wife. Do you want to tell us some more about what inspired you with medicine dance?
Yeah, well, we call it the School of Movement Medicine because for us, movement is the medicine. Like movement is the basic medicine for us, again, who've been living and grown up in a world where rationality was the emperor, so to speak. And I'm not, believe me, I've had to learn to really make friends with my own rational mind. And it's not to be dismissed. It just needs its place to receive information, not to think that the way it sees and perceives is the only information. But it's really useful and it's really important. And so one of the things that movement medicine works with is a mandala that was a mandala that I received in a dream. And Susanna, around the same time, she received one of those command dreams. It's very funny, like, you know, one of those booming voices. Your work shall be called movement medicine. It was very strong. And I was receiving this mandala. And it took us many years to understand that this image, this mandala, had, number one, 21 gateways, and two, it was a cosmology. It was, it's on the drum. Here it is. There are 21 gateways here. And in the center is the phoenix, and the yin and the yang, and the roots here at the bottom, and the branches here at the top, and the four elements all the way around. And this mandala came in a dream, and we understood then at that time that each point had a meaning, and it took us a long time, years, to work it out. And even when we worked it out, then we took it to elders and people who we respected, and we asked for their feedback. And only when it really landed in a good way, and it received that feedback, but then we were settled. And it's a story. It's not the truth. No map is the truth. It's a story about the truth. And, you know, there aren't really 5 rhythms. There aren't really 21 gateways. There aren't really 4 noble truths. They are all beautiful, artistic stories. They're like vessels that help us to travel on these seas of the unknown. So this mandala is a story. And in our work, through engaging body, heart, mind, this is the vertical axis. This is what we call empowerment. Body, heart, mind, roots, trunk, branches, connection, empowerment. We have to step out of being solely at the effect of our past and using our past as an excuse. And I don't say that unkindly. I'm not just dismissing how difficult the journey of healing can be. And there's a lot of trauma in this world, and it takes a lot of care and skill and resource and holding for that to happen. And that happens in our work through making friends with the body and remembering the kinesthetic intelligence. This body, it was made to move to rhythm. Rhythm was the very first thing these ears heard, our mother's heartbeat. Rhythm is fundamental language of this universe. So when we let rhythm move us and we give ourselves back to rhythm, and we recognize that inside us, deep inside us, there's something we call the unbroken. The unbroken is the intelligence of life itself, living my body, living life. It is life. It's the movement of life. And Gabrielle, bless her, she came up with a lot of beautiful, pithy, sassy to the point statements. And she really talked a lot about how important rhythm is, to give ourselves back to that nature. And that she said the only difference between life and death is movement. You look at a dead body and a living body, one of them's moving, one of them stopped moving. Therefore, life is movement. Pretty straightforward in that respect. And movement is intelligent. And your body, it's not that you have to dance, like I've got to do my dance now. Like I'm going to show you my dance. I'm going to do it. That's beautiful. That's art. But we're not trying to look good. We are trying to remember how to let go to a greater power that's represented by that rhythm. And then we work with the body as earth, the body as fire, the body as water, the body as breath. And so that's just 3 gateways. They're the first 3, the body, heart, mind. And then we have past, present, future, and then fulfillment, interconnection, and realization. Those are the branches. So it's a journey. And all of our ceremonies invite people to find their relationship with those places in movement. We don't tell you what it is. We provide a landscape in which you get to discover through your language, through who you are, what this is.
Beautiful. Sweating your prayers. That's what I always remember from Gabrielle Roth.
Sweat your prayers. Yeah, absolutely. That's the real thing. God, we did with her, man. Oh.
I was going to ask you about the long dance, but actually, I don't. We want to have time for questions too, and I've still got so much to ask you, so I'm going to skip that. But I'd like to read. So this is Yakov's book. It's been out, a month now?
Yeah.
Shaman. And I just want to read one little piece from the forward. And it says, my eyes are good enough. It says, the practices that Yakov is sharing with you are strong medicine, and they will support you in making or deepening your connection to the inner shaman. This part of you remembers who you are, who your people and your guides are, what you are connected to, and what your work is. They are also tuned in to the spirit guides of the forest and the universe. They can show you the changes you need to make in your life in relationship to yourself, others, the community of life, your ancestors and guides, and the source of life itself, so that future generations can survive and thrive in this world. It's a fabulous book. So really, where can people get a hold of this? Yeah, Yakov, just while we're on it.
You can all major booksellers, but if you check darlingkhan.com, you'll find all the sellers there and lots of different ways of getting hold of it. It's also available as an Audible book. I read it, and on Kindle. Oh, thank you. That's beautiful.
You read it as well. Lovely.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Lovely. So
that you read, by the way, was
yeah.
written by Minari. Were you going to say something about that?
No. You say it.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Thank you. Important because they're his words. And Minari Ushigwa, he is the leader and the shaman of the Zapara people of the Ecuadorian Amazon. He's a dear brother, and he's an extraordinary man. The Zapara nation are a disappearing nation. There's only about 500 to 600 of them left, and they had recognized a while ago that they were disappearing, and they made this commitment that before they disappeared from the world, they wanted to share their knowledge, and they have extraordinary knowledge of plants. I'm not talking about psychedelic plants, they have that too, but I'm talking about medicinal plants for the body, for the soul, for healing. And they are such a kind and strong people. And Minari, you know, when you hear him speak, he's a bit like that drum played quietly. Like, you know, he's very quiet, but he carries the force of the forest with him. And his father was a very well-known shaman, also called Minari. And his great nephew is also called Minari. And he's our godson now. So when we met in ceremony, his mother recognized us and asked us if we would be godparents, because they know that he's going to develop into being a shaman for his people.
Beautiful, beautiful story. So your book is about invoking power, presence, and purpose at the core of who you are, who we are. So I guess this book was a deep dive for you also.
Oh, God.
That must have been quite a process writing that.
It nearly killed me. And it wasn't my idea to write a book called Shaman. Michelle at Hay House, who's the CEO of Hay House in the UK, after my last book, we had a meeting and she said, you know, nobody's written a book called Shaman. And I was like, what? That's crazy. And she said, I think you should write it. And I was like, that sounds like quite a task. I think I need to go and have a word with the boss about that, and my spirit guides, everything, and ask. And I did a ceremony to ask. And what I was told in that ceremony was that this book is, the word shaman is an invocation. It's a call into the world right now to that part of all of us human beings. It's a birthright place in us. The inner shaman is such a powerful source of resilience, of connection, of creativity, of strength, of fluidity, of knowledge, of capacity to bridge the world of dreams and the world of physical reality, to be able to be connected at the same time to the mystery, and to be right here in this world, giving full-heartedly everything you've got to say thank you for life. This is the inner shaman character. And I got really passionate about it. And Michelle asked me, can you write it by a certain date? And because I was working a lot, I was out teaching, that meant I had 7 weeks to write it. Wow. And I was like, I like a challenge. I really like a challenge. And I said yes. And I had a really difficult time. And, you know, I couldn't, Susanna, my beloved, we had a really deep understanding of why this was good for us, that I would do this. And I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't. That's number one priority in my life, full stop. But since it was good, in our understanding for us, she offered to really support me, and I will be privileged to do the same for her at some near date.
Yeah.
But she really held the space for me, and I fell to pieces in many ways. And it was, I went to write, and I would disappear for like 5 or 6 hours, and I'd come back and actually not remember what I'd written or where I'd been. It was crazy. I'd never had that experience before writing, and
You over.
yeah, it was tough. Yeah,
I'd like to say a big thank you to Susanna, because, you know, all those partners, actually, whether they're male or female, it's irrelevant, but who stand behind their partners when they get the call to do the work, and they support them in that.
yeah.
It's that's powerful.
I'm really, really pleased that you do that, because yeah, it is like that. I often say I wouldn't manage 10-20% of what I'm able to offer in the world without her support and love and belief in me. You know, it wasn't easy. We've been together 34 years. It's taken us a long time to get who the other one is. And though our commitment was to support that, you know, there's a lot of other stuff happens in relationships, isn't there? The last thing you want to do is support anything to do with them. It's like, it's a tough road. It's the spiritual practice relationship.
Yakov, I read that I think you wrote in your book that it took you years and years and years to stop actually hurting each other, as in you and Susanna, as in, you know, to the undertone that happens in a relationship when you're living with somebody 24/7. Would you share a little bit about that? Because I thought it was such a magic thing to read. Wow.
Well, first of all, just to be clear, it wasn't physical hurt.
Yeah.
Well, every now and again, she had a go. But this is really, really important, because, you know, right now we're sitting here and there's lots of people all over the place right now having a really hard time, because nobody taught them how to be in relationship, because nobody taught them the basics of listening or generosity or communicating what it is we really want to say. And we cause a lot of suffering to one another, because we blame each other for the feelings that we brought with us into relationship. And in my understanding, relationship is the place. If you love somebody, you are there to see your way through the unveiling of each other's soul. And there is no way of doing that without addressing and confronting our pain, whether it's biographical, whether it's from previous relationships, whether it's from our families, our lineages, our ancestors. There is pain for us to deal with, and we visit it on each other as if it's each other's fault that we're feeling it. And if you are with somebody and that's happening, we need resource, we need spaces, we need held spaces. And we're really committed. One of the things we're going to be doing, one of our projects, is to create an online, very accessible, cheap way for people to learn about these basic things, because they're so helpful. But it's the hardest thing in the world. You know, when I'm feeling sorry for myself and I know it was your fault. It was your fault. We do, that it's your fault, that kind of thing. The last thing I want to do at that moment is to remember that this is my pain. And it takes a lot of practice. And slowly, we make progress. And you know, a good relationship it's a real work of art, and it deserves the time of learning and, you know, going through the mess and going through the difficulty.
Yeah.
If you have, you know, enough in the space between you, then all power to you. It's a road that's the one last thing about this, because this is so important.
Yeah.
The harvest of doing that work is, I've never even read about it. I've never heard about it. I only know our elders are like 20 years older than us, and they're on that road further down the road. So I can see where they've gone to. But the harvest of doing that shadow work together and taking responsibility for our own wounding and our own healing and supporting each other as best as we can with that is, number one, it's intimacy. And intimacy, real intimacy, means nothing hidden in the heart, revealing ourselves. Intimacy is the only road that I know to really, really great sex. Like, and I'm talking about all the chakras, like full physical body and full connection with the divine through making love. It's worth it. It's so worth it. Our friends, he's 75, she's 72. They tell us they're having by far the best sex of their lives. Now that's got to be worth it.
Absolutely. Great question, Teo, and great answer. That was, you're right. It's so important in this time to talk about that. I know so many people who are struggling, and it's
hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. We're not going to get that many questions in, because this is really what I want to talk to Yakov about. So we'll bring in a couple of questions after this. But Yakov, what's become apparent to me over the last few shows and people we've talked to and friends is that right now we've got this precious time in sacred seclusion, and whether we're, you know, however we're choosing to use that time, it's such an opportunity to really do a deep dive into ourselves and really sort out some shit, as it were. And I know that it's been really big for you, this inner process. And I know also that our beloved dear brother Estas, the protagonist in the film, also has been doing a really secluded deep dive into his stuff. Do you want to talk to me a little bit about that process? Because so many people hear those words, inner work, go within, it's all within, but actually they don't know how. They don't know what the territory is or the route is. Maybe you can just guide our audience a little bit on that.
Yeah.
And us.
Well, absolutely. I'm glad to. And also that in the book is really a step-by-step process that's really about engaging the resources that are already in you. You don't have to buy them. You don't have to go looking for them. You are those resources. And yeah, it's a time for me where I feel extremes. On the one hand, I'm really even more aware of the hardship and, you know, the people who are suffering from in this pandemic in all kinds of ways, and the people who are looking after them. You know, Thursday night in the UK, cheer for the NHS, for the carers. You know, suddenly the healers, we're kind of getting how important they are, the carers. That's on the one hand. There's real suffering. It's not that there wasn't before this pandemic. Of course there was. You know, it didn't stop the world that, you know, a person was dying every 10 seconds from hunger. That didn't stop the world. This did, though. And there's that side. And then on the other side, there's this absolute magnificent opportunity of being alive in a body, being on this earth at this time, and learning about our role in being here. And the step-by-step process that I'm engaged in is you know, every morning at the moment, I have to do this. There's so much emotion in me. And, you know, I would like to say I'm feeling all the emotion of the collective, but then I saw JP Sears thoroughly taking the piss out of that the other day. I was like,
Brilliant.
okay, you got me. Brilliant. What a star. So, yes, of course, there is no doubt, having made a joke about it, that there's a lot going on in the collective. But it wouldn't touch me if it wasn't in me too. And that's what we mean by doing the inner work. I can say it's all about them and all, you know, all the conspiracies and what they're doing to us. You know, it's down to us, whatever is going on in life, to find the strength. And how? Come to your body, put on some rhythm, put on some music. In my book, I gave away an 18-minute drumming piece. It's there on page something or other. There's the link to it. You can download it and let the drum speak to your body and speak to your roots, your feet. Your feet. Your feet need to, you need to be conscious of the sensation of your feet on the ground, wherever you are, however high off the ground you actually are. Roots go deep. And that gives us a feeling of stability, of holding, of ground. It's very easy when there's a lot of fear or a lot of emotion or a lot of unknown. We're in the unknown in a way that a great many of the world's population have been anyway for decades. We're just catching up with what it's like to live in the unknown.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge. We need ground. We need body, earth. And once you have that, then you can turn your heart to the sun, to the sky, and you can breathe in the warmth of the sun and visualize it and see it and let that light nourish and strengthen your body and bring it down into your roots. It could be a 2-minute practice. I'm doing so much practice in the morning. I have to be able to get on with my day.
Yeah.
I'm doing more personal practice now than I've done in my life. I'm needing to make space to move that emotion, not to get full up with it, but to shake my body and release it, release, and ground and light of the sun and breath and spaciousness. You are an elemental being, and that's already within you. It's not difficult.
Very good.
This is a good time for this question, if I might. Anitha says, what will it take to invite our bodies to move all the molecules?
Wow.
Good question.
It's a very big, if all your molecules moved at once from the state you're in now, you would pop. I would anyway. I'd pop. I'd be like, poof, gone. I'm back in the expanding universe. And so I wouldn't recommend it. And unless you already have a very secure ground. So it's a beautiful question, though. Step by step, noticing when you do practice, like our practice is movement medicine. If you let yourself move to rhythm, 5 minutes a day, 2 minutes a day, and you notice how the body is, and you inquire into what's there. And rather than being, oh, this is my history that's causing me pain that I've got to get rid of, I've got to extract it and throw it away, rather be curious and kind and recognize that this life has intelligence, and we can take all of that history and we can make it our art, the art of being who we are. That is within our capacity. And every step we take with that, we are including a little bit more of ourselves, including a little bit more, and embracing that part of our history, so that we're not the victims of our history, but we're present, making use of it.
Lovely answer.
Thank
Any
you.
more good questions there, Teo?
Another one from Dana. She says, Yakov, dear Yakov, it's so good medicine to hear you. I wish you to tell a bit about praying and asking for the healing of other people.
Thank you. What a beautiful question. There's a beautiful man called Arkan Lushwala, who's a Quechua medicine man and adopted by the Lakota also. And he's a sun dancer. He's a serious dude. And he talks about praying, meaning to be in direct relationship with. I found that so beautiful. Like, I'm praying. What am I praying to? I'm praying to the intelligence of life. And I have to let myself be in relationship with it and let myself feel it and experience it. And then the prayers that I make for other people, I was always taught not to pray for something, for somebody that they haven't given you permission for or asked for. You can pray for somebody's well-being, but our intelligence is very limited, so we don't necessarily know what somebody else's well-being looks like.
Yep.
And therefore, when we're in that direct connection with the intelligence of life, the way I do it is I let myself feel the love. Let's do it. Feel the love you have right now for the people who need your prayers. Like, let yourself experience the love you have for them, and then offer that love to the intelligence of life. Give it your breath. And as you breathe it out, trust that the intelligence of life knows what to do with it for the greatest good of that person you're praying for. Let's just breathe 3 times and do that. Somebody who you love and care for, who needs healing right now. Trust that you have that power within you, that you are earth right now. You are the warmth of the sun. You are the depth of the waters. You are the power of the wind. And there is love in your heart for this person right now. And feel that love and breathe it out. 3 breaths in, out, and in, and breathe it out. Give it to life. Give it to the intelligence. Breathe it in, and breathe it out, and let it go. And so it is. So it is.
Beautiful. So I've always dreamed of a circle of elders leading us by collective consent, Yakov. And when we were filming in Peru back in 2007 with Don Alejandro and Adam Yellowbird, they held a 3-day council, massive big circle of all the elders from North, South and Central Americas. And it was an incredibly inspiring thing to witness and to film with our cameras as well. And part of it was held in private and was just for them, obviously. So I want to know what's next for you, Yakov. And have you ever thought about leadership in terms of sitting with other wisdom keepers and actively participating in some way, interacting with our political system? Because we are really short of shepherds.
Thank you. It's a very profound question, and I know that to work with shamanism is not to just be on the edge of the village. To work with shamanism is to engage with what's going on now. And so, yes, I would love to speak to power, and I'm reaching as many as I can to, because everyone has connections. We all have connections. A dear friend of mine in Bethlehem, I saw him a few months ago. He said, "Oh, by the way, next week I'm going to see the Pope. I've got a private audience." He's an amazing guy. He's a Palestinian living in Bethlehem, and he made it his business to go and talk to right-wing Israeli settlers and make a bridge. He's a proper peace worker. He's doing healing work. So anyway, he had a conversation with the Pope. I found that so beautiful. Like, I asked him to whisper something in his ear, but he said, "I can't do that." So I think it's really important that I'm praying for this right now, that those elders in all different areas of life, the people who are holding an intelligence that is evolutionary, that's giving back, like Thomas Piketty, who's an economist. He's like right down to the nuts and bolts of how this works. Apparently, his latest book is a 1,000-page epic, but it's nuts and bolts. It's not pretty poetry. It's like, we could do it like this and it will work. And this is where inequality comes from. He's like a genius.
Wow.
I'd put him right there. I'd put him, he can be the next Chancellor of the Exchequer for the, worldwide. He's got a plan. He's got a vision of how we could do this.
Yeah. Because like Don Alejandro, his full name is Don Alejandro Cirillo Perez Oxlash, and he's the ambassador for the indigenous people of Guatemala, and he was granted an official government seat. We can see that slowly coming in, and even by talking about it right here now, we're dreaming that in. So I have a little game for you.
Uh-huh.
And that is, I want us just all to imagine that we have a global council of 12 elders, 6 men, 6 women, who consult with our world governments. Who would you like to see on that council of elders sitting in circle? And please, from the audience, you're really welcome to put, but only 12 people, 6 men, 6 women.
Wow. Okay.
Back off me.
Well,
No, I'm not putting us forward. I'm saying we can mention people.
Well, let's do it.
Question.
It really is. So I would definitely put Thomas Piketty there. I put Bessel van der Kolk there because he understands trauma, like understands the effect of trauma, past trauma in our present moment, day-to-day life, and how we're acting that out to the suffering of life. He understands it. He's got a very straight, clear way of defining it.
What's his name again?
Bessel van der Kolk. He wrote a book called The Body Keeps the Score. It's a Bible, modern day Bible. If you haven't read it, it's epic. It's brilliant. And I put Raphael Taish there and Sumpa. They're 2 elder shamans I know from the Jaguar people of the Amazon. I put Minari there. I put them there as elders because they understand Raphael and Sumpa, both in their late 70s and 80s, understand the value of tradition. And Minari understands the value of tradition and evolving into the current time. And once I met a rabbi who told me that tradition and the alternative need each other. That's the power of evolution. Tradition is the hub of the wheel. People out on the edge, they're the new energy that turns the wheel of evolution. So I found that really helpful. I put my elder there, Jake Chapman, Professor Jake, because he's the most content human being I've ever met. And he had the most horrific childhood of anyone I've ever met. That tells you something about him.
Yeah.
I put there my wife, definitely. Susanna, I put her straight there. Just Susanna, sort them out, please. She's brilliant. I put Lynn Twist there, who's one of the co-founders of the Pachamama Alliance, and understands money and has written a book called The Soul of Money. Amazing. I put Cristina Figueres there as well, because she's like, United Nations with heart, with sharp intellect, with knowledge of inequality. She's a powerful, powerful woman. I put Anna Halpern there, who is coming up, if she's not already 100, she's coming up to being 100. She is one of the grandmothers of dance as healing in the modern time. She's extraordinary. And I'd also put Pat McCabe there.
Oh, absolutely.
She's
awesome.
She's awesome, and she's so real. Like, she did that work. There she is, Pat McCabe.
Monique in London agrees.
I'm just wondering. I probably put Marianne Williamson there as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that,
because she's a brilliant politician, actually.
Yeah, and I'd say Charles Eisenstein.
Yeah, Charles is a really good man. He's a really good man. When it comes to economics, Charles is incredible work. I mean, what a writer. And his piece on coronation, if you haven't read it, it's extraordinary. Do have a good look.
We're interviewing him here on the 18th, I believe, of this month, Charles Eisenstein. He is amazing. And I would watch that piece, read that piece, The Coronation. Yeah. So have we got any comments from our audience at all for who they would
like lots.
Okay.
Lots and lots and lots. Would you like me to show you some of these?
I think this is part of the dreaming. I think this is...
I love it. Let's put them up. I'll bring them up one by one. We had Vandana Shiva. Yep. Thomas Piketty is second one. Yep. Estes.
Yeah.
Houston.
Yep.
One person from the Algonquin Nations. Vandana Shiva again. Desmond Tutu. Agreement on Basil van der Kolk.
Yeah.
Another one for Vandana. Beautiful to listen to you tonight. Then you Pat McCabe. They're coming in. Philip Carl Gom as a representative of the Druid community in the United Kingdom. Greta. And then here. Purse says Michael Tellinger, Vandana, Marianne Wilmerson, Michelle Obama, Theo Simon.
Theo Simon, yes.
Francis Stevens and Rita Jerez.
Lovely. We're interviewing Michael Tellinger also on the 14th.
Yeah, Michael Tellinger's coming up. We've got some great names coming up in the future for you. This is fantastic.
Raven.
Adrienne Maris Brown.
I don't know her.
Adrienne Mary Brown, not Maris. Foster Gamble, Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, Sark Guru, Fabian Mammon. Another one for Charles Eisenstein and Thomas Hubel.
Oh yeah, really good man.
Well, there's a whole list of names here that we're going to enjoy to go look through, and because I recognise a lot of them, but some of them I don't. So it's always great to do the research afterwards.
Check all of these people out. These are our mentors in the world. There are people to look to because they're certainly not sitting in government. Our government really is no longer fit for purpose. I very boldly say. And it's time for change. And I would love to see, working alongside a government, a council of elders that consult with all governments. It's let's see if we can
beautiful vision, Nikki. It's so important.
We need to, as we talk about things, we're already dreaming it in. So we need to be doing a lot of that. So anyway, we'll do more of that. Jolly good.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, all of you, for your input.
Yes, and look, it always works out 1 minute to 9:30. Anything.
We started at 8:15, so we've got another 15 minutes if we'd like.
Great. Well, perfect. So if there's any other questions or anything that you'd like to say, Yakov.
I'm curious if there are more questions. There's yeah, go ahead.
It's a great idea. Thank you, Luna. Will you publish all these names on the Facebook page so we can all do our research?
Very good idea.
We'll try. The difficulty with this is that we're broadcasting on our Facebook group, our Facebook page, and our YouTube channel. So actually combined, there's 350 people watching live right now.
We'll put it in one place. We'll put it on our Facebook page.
People are only going to see the names that are coming up on their individual feeds. That's why I say every week, the guys in the group, you're best off going to the Facebook page.
Facebook page.
The majority in YouTube and the Facebook page, and only a very few in the group at the moment. So you're not going to see all the comments that were coming up. But I'll try and find a way of doing that. I'll try.
Yeah, but I'll try. Technicals, we're working it out.
Yeah, we'll work it out. We've got some more names coming in here. You've got Don Oscar. You've got Genevieve Vaughan of Gifted Economics, Joanna Macy.
Oh, yes, Joanna.
Mary Robinson, who connects Irish Wisdom, one of the Council of Elders.
Yeah. Part of the elders.org.
Beautiful Mac McCarthy.
Mac McCartney, yes.
McCartney.
Yeah. McCartney.
McCarthy, Mac.
Oh, his name's Mac McCartney.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm so sorry.
He's another really good man.
He really is one of our elders.
He is.
You know, I struggled at the beginning of making this film. I was thinking I'm going out everywhere to, interview all these different cultures. But who are our elders? And I really struggled back then, They are stepping forward now. We're not short of any names now. It's beautiful.
It feels like it's very important. Actually, there is something that just comes now. In order to, I'm sitting here thinking about elders, and I just turned 56, so I'm a young elder, and I'm just coming into that round of my life, and it's really to stand up in the world and risk saying what's in our hearts. It takes a lot of power. It takes, you know what I mean? It takes power, and in order for me and us to do that, we have to heal our relationship with power. We can't sit here any longer kind of going, the big bad people over there with the power are doing it to us. It's like, it doesn't dignify us.
May I put you on the spot? May I ask you 3 questions? And they're questions I have asked you before when we interviewed, because it's something I asked everyone. I asked 4 questions, actually. The first one is, looking down the barrel of the lens, if you had the audience of our world leaders and corporate leaders, what would you say to them?
I would say to you guys, listen to the cries of suffering in this world. Open your ears and listen. The story that we have been telling is hurting us all, and not just humans. It's doing the kind of damage that if we continue, we will not recover from as a species. We need to wake up. We need to listen, and we need to get creative. We need to recognize, like, we've had this pandemic thing going on. We're right in it. We now know we are one species, regardless of where it came from. I don't care. What I care about is what we're going to learn from it. I want to learn that we are a species. We are a family that's part of a bigger network of family. And we have to learn about the power of love. And love is not just a pretty pink rose. It's the real thing. And one last thing I'd say to you is, there is no greater human contentment than giving what's inside us to give. And we need to teach our children that it's safe for them to be who they are and to grow up safely in their creativity and in their bodies and in their sexuality and in their expression and in their self-discovery. We need to make it safe for people to be who they are. That's what love is.
That's what I'd say to the leaders of the world. Fantastic. I'd asked you also, what would you say to the media for the responsibility they have of creating our reality, Yakov, to the media of the world?
I'd say, listen, guys, if you don't get your act together, we're just going to switch off and start watching something interesting, like The Time of the Sixth Sun. Come on, guys. Like, wakey. This is, you're brilliantly creative. You're amazing what you're doing. Like, gathering all this information. Let's gather something that matters. Let's gather something together that gives hope to people, that doesn't feed our fear, that's kind of, gives us a feeling that there's value inside us, that we have something, that we matter, that it's not all about some superstars. It's about all of us. Let's, you probably went into the media because you're kind of creative. So come on, let's get a vision of the future that actually we could be proud of. Let's tell a story that we could be proud on. Let's pass something on that we could be proud of, because we could. We are.
There's lots of conscious media people out there as well. We have to give them the heads up.
Absolutely.
The rest of them are really letting themselves down. Last question would be to the children of the world. What would you say to the children of the world right now?
I'd say, if your mama's not present and she's more in her wounds than her medicine, and if your papa's not present and he's more in the generations of wounds and battlefields that have made him violent and cold and separate, and if you're on your own within that landscape, I want you to know that there is hope, more than hope. There is technology. There is, healing technology. There are ways of healing. And whatever is going on right now, and I know this through the experience of so many people who suffered in their childhood, who had a hard time, really hard time, there is within you, you beautiful, unique being that came from the stars. There is within you the shining soul of a healed and whole human being themselves and giving everything to life.
Oh, beautiful.
We got a few minutes. I'd love to pull in a few questions because they are coming in now from our beautiful tribe. So Einstein Collective says, with so much awareness on suffering and chaos, do we feel more responsibility to celebrate the joy?
Yeah, absolutely. Really important. Really important. It's really important to look at beautiful things and listen to beautiful things and fill yourself with beauty. And, if it's not there available, then draw it, make it, write it, carve it, cook it, give it to somebody who's next to you. Beauty really matters, but not beauty that's, forgive me, it's not sugar on shit kind of beauty. Like you've got to feel joy because there's too much suffering in the world. Not sugar on shit beauty, but beauty that comes from allowing ourselves to be in all the different chambers of our heart, to not be afraid of fear, to not be afraid of expressing clearly our frustrations, but not at each other, to take responsibility. That leads us into the land of grief. And the result of grief, of letting go, is joy. It comes. It's like the sun comes out after the storm, and it's there. So both accept, work with these things that we'd rather not, and look at beauty, feed yourself beauty.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. And I have got one more question, which I think we should do, which has disappeared back up the feed because there's that many of them coming in. And I'll find it. But the question was, Yakov, what would be your feeling of utopia? Here it is. What is your vision of utopia?
Great.
Sophia Kramer.
Wow. Great question, Sophia. Utopia is utopia to me means heaven on earth. It means an end of giving up that story that if we're all good, obedient people doing what we're told to do, and we do what it says in one book or another, that we'll receive our reward, but after we're dead. So utopia would be each one of us feeling that there was enough support, enough resource, enough safety for us to receive the good soil of good community, of being recognized. It's so important that we recognize each other, that we dare to look in each other's eyes and go, you're beautiful. You're like to look for the specific things that we can celebrate in each other. So I suppose utopia would be where that is more important and has shifted the balance from, oh, you're not, you're this and you're that and you don't do this, that actually we've shifted, we've rebalanced the scales to looking at what we can really enjoy in each other and be clear about what's not okay. Yeah, absolutely. And it would be that place where everyone has, I think universal basic income, number one, would be utopia.
Yeah.
So nobody is in danger of starvation or not having clean water. And that would be a global responsibility. From that, we can create anything here. Anything. We do create anything, but we could create, could really create heaven on earth.
It seems to me that there's so many people with opinions of why someone shouldn't have this or that, and there's a very common expression, it's mind your own business. Just to pay our attention to ourselves and not anyone else, I think we'd have far fewer problems.
Well, it's absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Well,
I'd like to say that too.
We're going to get ready to round this up. Yakov, I'm just going to bring this up again. So if you would love to find out more about Yakov, you can visit his website, which is darlingkhan.com. We also has another website, 21gratitudes.com, which we've not even talked about, Yakov. I'll bring this down. Do you just want to tell us a little bit about what that is?
We'll have to bring him back.
Great. I'd love to. 21 Gratitudes is the new portal for all that we're offering online. And what's good about that right now is there's lots of, there's an archive of freebies, of movement medicine classes, of online movement medicine ceremonies. There's freebies and there's things you can buy into, really accessible. And it's also the home of our new membership site, which is a study hub for people all around the world to get together and study the things that I've been talking about. And that's closed at the moment, but it will open again in a few months. So go there and have a look. And if you see something you like, then get on the wait list and you'll hear when the doors open.
Okay.
And I was quite serious about maybe having you back, Yakov. Can I just have Yakov back for a moment?
Yeah.
Of having you back. and talking also about Bright Sky, a new online community hub, which we're both connected to. So that would be beautiful too.
Great.
Can we say just a last little bit about the film to everyone? We really, we're in the age of collaboration. We want to see the film go viral, and we want to reach as many hearts across the world as possible. So please, please, please help us make this film go viral. We're relying on you guys.
Can I add something to that, Nikki? It's very important. You see this woman, Nikki, and this guy, Theo, they've dedicated their lives to something beauty. Look at her. She's not if you give her loads of money, and please support this film and project, give back to it. She's not going to just sit there and use it. She's going to make use of it. Look at her. She's a woman who cares and loves life. So please, let's at least rent or buy the packages that are there, because these guys have put their heart and souls into it. And, please.
Blessings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's set it up.
I put this slide up onto our donations page because not many people know this, but the project's cost over £700,000, $875,000 to complete. So that's going to take a lot of rentals at $4.95 or digital packages at $67 to recoup. So if anything you give us goes towards the broadcast, the administration costs, the website costs, the development costs, with just random expenses. And our long-term goal's always been to set up the Heart Fund, where we can support the Indigenous projects. And we also need to get the investors who actually enabled this all to happen. We'd love to get them paid back. So that's why we're asking for an energetic exchange. So if you're loving these live broadcasts we're doing, all the links are in the comments, where you can either rent the movie, or you can buy a digital access, or you can donate. And if you can't do any of those things, then just share with your friends, because that's something you can do so that more people find out about us.
That's what viral is about. So we all understand how a virus works. We're sending a virus and fear out across the world. It duplicates and duplicates. So now I would ask you to change those words, virus and fear, for love and support and compassion, and send that out around the world. It's easy to do. We can change the world. We are changing the world.
Yes, we are.
With that. Thank you so much. Yakov, we're going to have you back. I thoroughly enjoyed this evening talking with you.
Thank you. Me too. And I just for everyone who's watching, I just wish for all of you real good health and all the support you need for you and your loved ones to really make it through this situation, that we can come through stronger and more resourced and more creative than we went into it.
Beautiful.
Good night, everyone.
One of you. Our worldwide audience. So we have UK, Spain, United States, Bucharest, New Zealand, New Mexico in the US, Italy, Canada, South Africa, France, and the Netherlands. And they're just the ones that came in. So our global tribe is growing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And good night. We'll see you on Monday. And Luna, we've got White Eagle Medicine Woman coming back to do something really special.
To talk about the divine feminine, but she's got some great tools, so it's going to be a really good one.
Yeah, look out for those. Yakov, thank you, brother, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks,
Thank you very much for having me. Good night, everyone.